This is my visual aid. What if you had to live your entire life with limited resources because of the mistakes you made in your past? In today's world, it can be very hard for convicts to have a productive life outside of prison walls. The problem with former offenders is they must carry the shadow of prison with them forever. Many former offenders who have completed their prison sentences have to live a difficult life because of their criminal record. It is often difficult for these former offenders to secure stable job opportunities that can support their families and provide essential needs for daily life. Because of this, people return to criminal activities as a means to provide for their missing income. If you look at the slide, you'll see a graph comparing prison population rates among the top 10 countries rated by incarceration. The United States has the highest, with over 700 people in prison per 100,000 population. This is a problem when compared against Spain, the next highest, which only has just under 200 prisoners per 100,000 population. The U.S. far exceeds other nations with how many people it puts behind bars. I had the opportunity about 6 years ago to meet a man who had served 5 years in prison for armed robbery during his early 20s. After release, he had a very difficult time finding work because of his record. He told me most of the job applications he submitted were rejected because of his background check. Simply put, the employers didn't want to hire a convicted felon. His story of beginning life after incarceration was an example of the problem many former offenders face upon leaving prison. Leaving prison to re-enter a society as a functional member can be difficult for many because they lack the necessary skills. What would you do if you were unable to secure a worthwhile and stable job to support your household? By supporting legislation to reform prison sentences and prisoner rehabilitation programs, we can help relieve the burden of convicts exiting the prison system without a means to support themselves and their families. I feel prison reform is a necessary step forward and would like to discuss 3 main points to show you why. First, I will discuss present-day legislation currently in need of voter support in order to successfully pass into law. Secondly, one way we should reform is by expanding rehabilitation programs to prepare for prisoners re-enter society and stay out of prison. Lastly, we can look at some who have already seen success with prison reform at a state level. Let's start with a piece of legislation in the Senate. There is current legislation being worked on called Senate Bill S2795, the First Step Act, that hopes to achieve a start at real prison reform. It looks to do this with a number of points, including holding the Federal Bureau of Prison, BOP, accountable. According to an online article by firststepact.org, one way the bill tries to do this is through use of specific language in the bill, such as saying the BOP and the Attorney General shall do something instead of saying they may do it. The bill will also require a biannual audit by the Government Accountability Office and would make the Attorney General reports to Congress yearly on the activities executed. Now let's talk about expanding rehabilitation programs. Rehabilitation programs are intended to help people exiting prison to re-enter society. Through my research, I found a chief complaint is that current programs do not do enough to help those who have completed their sentence. An article on thenation.com states that many parolees are left entering a workforce lacking trade skills, and others are leaving prison with mental illnesses that go untreated. The First Step Act, if passed, will create and expand life-changing classes aimed at skill building, education, and vocational training. According to an article on NBCnews.com, the bill will allocate $250 million over 5 years for the Bureau of Prisons to develop risk assessment tools to figure out what inmates need and to create programs tailored to those needs. In the same NBCnews.com article, I read that the bill would also build on incentive programs to encourage good behavior and speed up a potential early release by earning credits against release date. The max number of credits an inmate could earn per year would also be increased from 47 to 54. This change would also apply to exiting prisoners, making some eligible for release immediately. However, there will be several types of prisoners, including murderers, terrorists, and spies, who will be exempt from earning more credits, leaving these exempt offenders at only the 47 credits a year. According to FirstStepAct.org, these early releases would garner an estimated of $40 million savings in the first year on a federal level. In an article on ncls.org, between related costs to families, states, and federal government, the prison system costs an estimated $182 billion a year. It is no surprise that nearly every state has passed legislatures to try and reduce prison costs. Some states have already shown success with prison reform. For example, I read in the transcript from a recent presidential roundtable event in Bedminster, New Jersey, that Attorney General Pamela J. Bondi of Florida helped pave a path to success for convicted felons by allowing them to get an occupational license. According to the bizfluent.com, occupational license is also known as a business license. It is required for a person or business to engage in certain services in Florida, such as cosmetology, certified public accounting, or interior design. Steps like this help encourage convicted felons to succeed after release and stay out of the prison system. A second example comes from the article by NBCnews.com. It tells us how Louisiana has saved $12 million since 2017, when the state authorized a set of laws that lowered mandatory minimum sentence for certain crimes, expanded alternative programs to prison, and made it easier for nonviolent offenders to earn good behavior credit. According to the remarks made by Attorney General Kenneth Paxton of Texas at the Presidential Roundtable meeting, his state has seen remarkable improvement in prison system by putting $241 million into drug treatment programs and job placement programs. Since implementing this, Texas has closed 8 prisons. In conclusion, many, including myself, feel reform is much needed in order to see real success from other nation prison systems. Prison reform will offer more help to regenerate exiting prisoners into society, keep government offices overseeing our prison system in check, and allow taxpayer relief from the financial burden of the current system. By supporting legislation aimed at prison reform on a federal level, we can stop wasteful spending on tax dollars and truly help convicts get the behavioral rehabilitation they need. Thank you.